before all of that, we've got to get there. G'day and welcome folks to another adventure. Today, as you would have just seen, we're heading to Fraser Island. But first, we've got to get there. And to do that, we've decided to take the barge from Inskip near Rainbow Beach to the southern point of Fraser Island. It's the shortest and cheapest barge, and in my opinion, gives you the best chance to see the most of the island. Although today it's a little bit hard to see it through the rain, we're hoping the weather picks up throughout the journey, because here's our barge and it's time to get on board. Crossing over to Fraser Island from Inskip, it's just over 1.5 k's by barge here. Varies a little bit with the tide, but today the tide's pretty high, so hopefully there's enough beach to unload onto, so we've got a long way to go before we make camp tonight. We've travelled over with some friends of ours, Ben and Rachel, and their kids. It's a great place to bring kids, just got to watch out for them dingoes. So after a quick chat and deciding on a plan, we're going to take the inland track because the tide is too high. Before we came here, we printed out some old school paper maps because reception on the island is patchy at best. So be prepared if you're coming over here, either download an app or print out some paper maps so you can find yourself around. These tracks, they're not that well signed and you don't want to be lost out here. Obviously we would have liked some better weather for our first day over here, but these things are pretty hard to plan, especially when you're booking them in a few weeks out.
Right, we've been going up this track for about 5 or 6 k's now, and the ruts have just been unreal. We've been having to slow right down to get through them, sitting on about 20 to 30 k's an hour. But unfortunately the tide's still a little bit higher than what we thought, so we can't get along the beach, although we're going to give it a crack next access point we get. But there's a lot of water lying around, some over the road up here, but nothing too substantial. Ben has just made it through, so we shouldn't have any dramas.
So this is where we got off at the ferry at Inskip Point, and instead of taking the beach track due to high tide, we're just taking the dotted lines. So we're going inland a little bit and then hopefully we'll come out soon.
Right, I've just come across the next access point of the beach. We're going to go down and see what the tide's like down here, because those corrugations, they're unreal. I don't know how far along that track we were, but we want to stay off it as much as possible. It's not far through to the beach. Looks like Ben's coming across it now.
The inland bypass track that we've been travelling along, we've been going on it for about 8 k's. This track's heaps longer than this, with plenty of cut throughs to the beach, but this is the first one we've seen. We want to get off this track because the ruts have been awful, absolutely shaking us and the cars apart. So we're keen to get down onto that beach because it should be good to travel if the tide's low enough. Fraser Island can have super soft sand that can bog even the best cars, but after a bit of rain it all firms up, and we've had plenty. We plan on getting down onto the beach and getting some k's between us and where we got on this island, because we've still got a long way to go today. Now it's certainly polite, but I don't know if it's a rule, when passing oncoming cars on Fraser Island, to indicate the side you plan on going on. So if you're staying on the left, indicate left. Pretty good practice and it can avoid danger. There's also other dangers that you got to look out for on the beach, not just dingoes and logs. You got to watch out for things like this. This is an overturned boat, a pretty sizable one too. Check it out there, buried in the sand. Also, you got to watch out for these. Anytime there's been a lot of rain around, you're going to get these big washouts in the beach. This one's nice and shallow, but it's good to slow down for them anyway, because later in the trip we hit some bigger ones. For this trip we've packed a tent. Now this wasn't my idea, it was more of my wife's, and you know, I'm open to experiments. So we're towing a tent over here. We've got a trailer to cart all of our gear a little bit easier. After all, we're going to be here a week. So we're just towing a box trailer with all their gear in it, keeping the back of the car relatively empty. And we are staying at Cathedrals caravan park, I suppose it's called, holiday park. It's fenced in, it's got showers and toilets. I've never been here before, been told it's alright. It's not quite on the beach, but set a little bit further back, but we've got to get up here and check it out anyway. So, without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Oh, what's this guy doing? One of Fraser Island's local residents. This is a dingo, the last Australian wild dog. This is the only place they can be found in a pure example of what they used to be. These guys normally aren't that dangerous, but if you got kids or elderly, you want to keep your eyes on them because these guys have been known to attack. We're now at the first of two bypasses on our way up to Cathedrals. This one is at Fraser Beachfront Holidays. It's a group of houses that I think you can probably rent out. You can bypass these at low tide, but when the tide's up, like it is now, you've got to go up and over the dunes, past the accommodation, and back down the other side. Otherwise, you'll be underwater because that tide is high, it's near on full moon, so we got some big waves, big swell, big tides, and hopefully big sunshine, because it's been raining all morning. This is what it looks like from above. And as you can see, at low tide, it's pretty easy to drive around. So if you're traveling in the busy season, I would be traveling at low tide. That's what we did last time we were here. Travel when the tide was down so you can avoid these bottlenecks in the beach. It'll cause you a lot of time and a lot of delays. But tide's up for now, so we're taking the bypass. Anywhere on the island that generally gets a lot of traffic or is really rutted out from the rain or steep or anything like that, they've done with these sort of boardwalks. I think they're probably chained together, bits of timber that are going to make it a lot easier for you to get up and down. Most places have them up pretty good. The next bypass we're going to come up to is at Hby Rocks. Don't have any drone footage of that, and it's not too bad. It's through some accommodation as well, and then it's a little bit steep on the way out. It could probably use a few repairs. It's got rubber mat, and it's easier going down than it is coming back up. I tell you what. And with these trailers, it doesn't make things any easier. But I'm going to give it a shot anyway because I don't want to wait for the tide to go around. And after all, Ben's going first and he's got the bigger trailer, so if he can do it, we'll be able to do it easier. Plus, if he gets stuck, I can winch him back and he can have another go. As we cut our way up the beach, we're approaching Hby Valley. It's a little township. We're not stopping in today, but we're definitely going to come back and check it out. It's about 57 kilometres from where we departed the barge, but we've still got a few k's to go. You can beach camp pretty much anywhere on Fraser. There's 9 public zones all the way up. It's pretty cheap. If you want to come over here, it's definitely the easiest way to go, but you've got to watch out for these guys. There are no fences. Sun's out for a little bit, so that means Eli Creek is packed. It's definitely one of the happening spots on the eastern coast of the island. Awesome place. We're going to come back and check this out because we got all the gear. We've got to keep going. We've actually got to cross Eli Creek here. But luckily, it's pretty shallow at this point in time. Last time I toured Fraser Island, which was a few years ago now, you could only pass this on the bottom half of the tide because it would be well over your roof. This thing used to get deep, but today we've been lucky. Now it's the final stretch. It's out in the distance. This is the SS Mahino. She washed ashore in 35, that's 1935, almost 100 years ago from a cyclone. It's a Kiwi ship, and she's seen better days today. We're going to come back in and check this out when we've got a little bit more time, but it's definitely a sight to behold. 100-year-old ship sinking into the sand, rusted and falling apart. Isn't it beautiful? But we're nearly at camp, so let's go. Here she is, Cathedrals. I've never been here. A guy from work said it was alright. Ben's never been here. Let's check it out. Now, this certainly isn't what I'd call a maintained entry track. This would be maintained by Cathedrals. It's one way, that's why it's so narrow. There's another track coming back the other way in just as poor condition. I'm sure these guys have got a tractor or a grader or something. They could be smoothing this out a little bit. It's shaking us to pieces, but we got to get up here anyway because this is where we're staying. we are staying here because it's got showers, toilets, and importantly, it's got a dingo fence around it, which you don't need. Kids will probably be alright sleeping in the sand dunes, but you hear some horror stories, and this is the first time my kids have been camping, so we've decided to camp inside the high fence with the electrified gate, just to make sure that everything's going to be sweet for their first time spending a week in the great outdoors. Cathedrals has powered, unpowered sites, glamping tents that are pre-set up with beds in them, and cabins, but we've decided to go for the powered site for a little bit of luxury, but we're bringing our own tent, so I'm super not looking forward to setting that up, but that's just going to be part of the adventure. Here we are, Cathedrals on Fraser. While the girls check us in, me, Ben and the kids check out a few of the locals here at camp. Plenty of these big guys wandering around. They're pretty friendly, but you don't want to startle them because their claws are like hooks and they will climb you. And you will need stitches. But it's time to go and find our campsite and set up the big tent. Haha, she is. We've got to get a tarp over this because that rain is coming. Now it's time for us to cook up a feed and hit the hay because we've got a big day tomorrow, and I'll see you guys then. Join us in this series to see the Valley of the Giants, the SS Mahino, Sandy Cape, Lake Mackenzie, Nagala Rocks, Kingfisher, the Lighthouse, sort of, Champagne Pools, Indian Head, I don't know, there's many, many more. Tune in to see the rest of these videos in this series of us exploring Fraser Island.